Good morning. I'd like to call the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, October 25th to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. We'll begin our meeting this morning by asking Pastor Ms. Sandy Gilliard, the pastor of St. James AME Church in Willaca, former educator and current school board member, and one of the classiest ladies I've ever met in my life, to come forward to deliver our invocation, and then Commissioner Turner will lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
In all humility, let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come this day giving you praise, thanks, and honor for all that you are and for all that you do. Thank you for allowing us to see another day. Thank you for the activity of our limbs, eyes, ears, God, all of the things that we usually overlook or take for granted. We say thank you today. Now, God, the business at hand for this Board of Commissioners, God, we pray for wisdom. For your word declares, if a man lacks wisdom, let him ask God, and you will give it to him liberally. And so, God, endow these men with wisdom, that they may lead this county, oh God, and lead with integrity. God, we pray your blessings upon their homes, their families, oh God, and bless, oh God, this county at large. Enable us, oh God, to stand firm and to be grateful for the blessings that the storm passed over us with minimal damage. And God, we do pray for those who sustained a great amount of damage. God, we love you, we honor you, and we thank you and we praise you. Thank you, God, for every unit, every entity, every constituent, every person in this community. For none of us are as strong as our weakest link, so it takes all of us working together. Help us to be mindful of that and to forever keep you in the forefront. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Gilliard, and thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioners, we're going to deviate from the agenda just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and move down to presentations. And we will start with National Runaway Prevention Month is October. So I'd like to ask the representatives, Ms. Mariana Cotter and Ms. Latoya Robinson, to please come forward and meet me at the podium. And I've asked Commissioner Harvey to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation, Putnam County Proclamation number 2022-106, National Runaway Prevention Month. Whereas National Runaway Prevention Month began in 2002 and is spearheaded each year by the National Runaway Safe Line, NRS, the federally designated national communication system for runaway and homeless youth. And whereas the prevalence of runaway and homelessness among youth is staggering, with studies suggesting that every year between 1.6 and 2.8 million youth live on the streets of the United States. Runaway youth are often expelled from their home, have experienced abuse and trauma, are involved in the foster care system, are too poor to secure their own basic needs, and may be ineligible or unable to access adequate medical or mental health resources. And whereas children and youth who run away are increased danger for falling into high-risk situations, including increased risk for human trafficking, effective programs supporting runaway youth and assisting youth and their families as providing safe and stable homes succeed because of partnerships created amongst families, youth-based advocacy organizations, community-based human service agencies, law enforcement, schools, faith-based organizations, and businesses. And whereas the National Runaway Safe Line is sponsoring National Runaway Prevention Month in November to raise awareness of this issue facing runaway and homeless youth and educate the public about solutions and the role they can play in ending youth homelessness. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of Putnam County, Florida, that November 2022 is designated as National Runaway Prevention Month in Putnam County, and urge all to support the effort to increase public awareness about, educate on behalf of, and provide positive and safe alternatives to runaway and homelessness youth and their families done, ordered, and adopted this 25th day of October 2022. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of this proclamation.
Got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Adamsack. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of this proclamation indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations and thank you. Okay, I want you to, hopefully you're going to say a few things. Before I turn it over to Ms. Mariana and LaToya, they're employed with CDS Family Behavioral and Health Services, which is a facility that takes in kids that may be having trouble with home or schooling. Mariana called me a few weeks ago and asked me to come tour that facility, and I did. And let me tell you, Commissioners, each one of you need to do that because it was well worth my time to see the facility, see what they were doing, how many children that they were affecting, and mentoring. And so to have this in our community, I think is a very positive thing. It's just right around the corner. You can walk from here. So I highly recommend that each one of you visit the facility. But thank you for everything you do, and thank you for allowing us to help you recognize National Runaway Month today.
Thank you. And I do extend an invitation to all of you. Just let me know. I'll give you my card. You can just call me. Set up a tour for you anytime. We love having you come over and take a look. We very much appreciate you giving us this proclamation for National Runaway Prevention Month. It is very near and dear to our hearts because one of the populations that we serve are runaways and homeless youth. So it is very close to us. And in honor of that, CDS is actually hosting an event, and I did want to let you all know on November 10th, which is National Wear Green Day, just so everyone knows. Green is the color for National Runaway Prevention. And so we are hosting an event at Moore Yard, which is right next to CPC and back in between, and from 4 to 7 in the evening to help shine a light on homelessness and runaways and to talk about their issues and how maybe we can all, try to find some strategies for prevention. But it should be a fun event. We have music and food truck and, all of those kind of things, and a lot of the agencies are coming out. So I'm going to leave a couple of flyers with you so that if you have the time or the inclination, please join us 4 to 7 on November 10th. And that's 2000 Reed Street, in case you didn't know. But again, I thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I could. I've actually toured that facility multiple times when we were working on it. We remodeled that back in 2006, I believe. Increased the capacity, added onto it, and it is absolutely a worthwhile endeavor and a need in our community. I'm sure that the need has grown over the years.
We're also, at this time, we've received a grant, so we're fencing, putting privacy fencing in the back and some more security cameras up there so we can allow the youth to have that area to, to exercise, and because they have to have large muscle exercises every day. And so we're having some trees trimmed and we have some fencing put up. Last year we got the grant, and now we got some more of a grant, so we're going to put a little bit more fencing And hopefully by next year, we can finish the fencing, but, so I do want to leave a couple of these.
Okay, we'll move down to our next recognition, and it's always special to be able to recognize one of a county team, I guess, the employees, but you're at a county level, but this is a recognition for a state level. So I'd like to ask Fire Chief Chad Hutchinson, Fire Investigator Clue Wright, and Public Safety Director J.R. Grimes to come down to recognize Clue Wright for the Fire Investigator of the Year for the state of Florida.
This award just investigates over 40 years of fire service history, starting as a volunteer in 1980 in St. Johns County. His dedication and expertise in the fire prevention go back to 1989 when he first became certified as a fire safety inspector, and shortly after started fire investigations with the city of Palm Bay. Clue works closely with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, the State Fire Marshal's Office, Division of Forestry. Every structure fire in Putnam County is 100% investigated, and all parked vehicle fires are 100% investigated. Clue has been classified as an expert fire investigator in the court of law. Clue is in charge of fire prevention, plan review, fire inspections, education, ISO, internal investigations, and pre-plans. Clue has an extensive knowledge in fire investigation and has held certification as a Fire Investigator 1 and 2, with also a certificate of medical legal death investigator. So it was an honor to go down in June in front of the Florida Fire Investigators and accept this on Clue's behalf as Fire Investigator of the Year for the state of Florida. Thank you.
Don't forget, he's also a career veteran.
Hey, thank you for this recognition here today. It doesn't go unnoticed. And, I'd like to give thanks to our partners at Putnam County Sheriff's Office, they help out 100% with the state fire marshals. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be standing here today. So again, thank you so much and for that opportunity.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Y'all are in. Try to get the podium not in.
Okay, we'll move down to item C, recognition of the September Employee of the Month. I'll ask HR Director Sarah Carone to come down to recognize Dalton Ford from Public Works. And if the Public Works employees, Mike Nemitz, you want to come, and any of the other employees that want to come down, it'll be fine also.
Good morning.
Morning.
So Mr. Ford was nominated in the last few months, and he is a supervisor. One of the things that really stood out to me on his nomination is how much he interacts with his staff. It's just repeated again and again that he's always communicating with his staff. He interacts really well with them. He teaches them new ways to do things. He's always willing to help them out. And so not only is Dalton just, a great employee, but he's also a very good supervisor. So I'm really happy to give him his award for being Employee of the Month for September.
Morning, Commissioners. Dalton came from Alachua County Public Works to Putnam County Public Works in November 2018. In August of 2019, he was promoted to Area Supervisor. Dalton is definitely one of our go-to guys. If we need someone to do anything from felling a tree to doing cast-in-place concrete, we can count on him. He always steps up. When tasked with doing more with less, Dalton always rises to the occasion. He is willing to work longer hours, work faster, and work harder. But not only that, he also does more of the right things. He prioritizes his projects accordingly and maximizes efficiencies. So with all that being said, Dalton, would you like to say anything?
Each other a hand in getting the job done.
Thank you, Dalton.
I know I speak for all the commissioners. We probably get more contact from individuals related to public works issues, so they really do a great job for us. And I know they're already headed back to work, and I'm sure they're going down to District 1 to take care of some issues that we have in South Putnam.
But they are going to pass through District 3. We're just going to go down there and work.
Didn't do the minutes, I think. Oh, really? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, we'll move back up. I neglected to do the approval of the minutes, so we'll go back to item 2, approval of the minutes as presented, Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes stated in our packet.
We've got a proper motion to approve the minutes and a proper second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll go ahead and move down. I'll skip around again. We'll go ahead and move down to the planning and development portion. We have a small-scale land use amendment, and I'll ask Mr. Zachary Baker to come forward and Heather Whitmore. And before you get started, Administrator Suggs would like to make a couple of comments.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Just want to make a quick introduction, if I may, this morning. Ms. Heather Whitmore. Heather, if you would stand, please. This is Ms. Heather Whitmore. She is our new Executive Director of Development Services over Planning and Building. And this is her first meeting this morning. And I figured it might be a wise thing to do before she gets up and speaks is to introduce her to the board and to all the citizens here in Putnam County. So again, just want to welcome Heather to our Putnam County family.
Okay, Mr. Baker, ordinance
Thanks for having me.
2022-012.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, Zachary Baker, Planning and Development Services. This is the small-scale map amendment, SM 22-001. The application is to amend the future land use map from agriculture to rural residential. The applicant's name is Cameron Parker. Him and his agent are here today. Property is located at 629 State Road 20 East in Palatka. The subject parcel is approximately 5.05 acres, currently has a future land use of agriculture and a zoning designation of agriculture. The proposal is to amend the land use application to comply with density requirements of the comprehensive plan in order to construct a single-family dwelling. Some of the background for this is the subject parcel was split from a 10-acre parcel through deed in 2006, so it didn't have the benefit of a review from planning staff. Any subdivision of land within Putnam County is required to file an application with the county. The applicant was unaware of this process. When the parcel was divided, it rendered the lot non-conforming to the allowed density of the comprehensive plan for the agriculture future land use classification. That assigned density is 1 dwelling unit per 10 acres. Here we have the aerial of the property. You can see it's a couple parcels off of State Road 20. The current zoning and the current future land use. Proposed future land use is, well, the current agriculture density requirements would not allow for the development of a single-family home on only 5 acres. Several lots were created from a parent parcel that now have existing single-family homes on them. Surrounding parcels to the north and the west maintain a rural residential future land use classification that allow a residential density of 1 dwelling unit per 2.5 acres. The applicant requests to construct 1 single-family dwelling on the parcel, and the request is compatible with surrounding land uses and development patterns of large lot, single-family residential uses in the area. The Planning Commission, at its September 14th, 2022 public hearing, recommended approval of the request to amend the future land use map from agriculture to rural residential. Any questions of staff?
Okay, we'll start with questions. Commissioner Turner?
I don't know that I really have a question other than just a comment. This is exactly the kind of situation that we need to try to avoid in the new rewrite of the land development code. You got 5 acres of land with rural residential on 2 sides. It's clearly perfect for 1 home on 5-acre density. Perfect. You already got it on 2 sides of it. It's just 1 corner if you looked at the map. This is a perfect example to this commissioner of one of the changes we need to make to where when there's a situation that's entirely just that you know is going to pass, that there's no way that it's going to, I mean, I can't see a way that this would fail. How these individuals should have been able to go in and get an administrative change on something that's so simple that it makes nobody nervous, it makes nobody else, that they could have gone in and within a week they could have got an administrative change, or 2 weeks instead of 3 months, $750 or $650 or whatever it is now to get a comp plan, a land use amendment or a future land use amendment. I'm just telling you, gentlemen, this is the perfect example of bureaucracy at its finest. I know that y'all are doing what you have to do. I'm not being critical of you guys at all. I'm just saying that these are the kind of situations we need to try to at least improve on when we go into the land development code rewrite. But with that, Mr. Chairman, I think you need to ask. I'm ready for a motion whenever you are.
Okay. All right, got a few more questions. Commissioner Harvey?
Commissioner Turner, I agree, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for calling upon me. I've been working with Mr. Parker for a long time now in bringing this forward, and it's been very frustrating. But when we do our land development code and rewrite that, this is a prime example of where we can clean this up. So thank you, Mr. Turner.
Commissioner Rawls?
I agree with the caveat. I think you still need to take a look at where the rural residential is impacting the community and the farmlands that are, the agricultural lands that are being removed. I perfectly agree that a lot of people don't want to take down 5 acres. They want 2 acres or 1 acre or half acre to have a homestead.
But right now, our agriculture requires 1 home per 10 acres if it's zoned agricultural. So I think that's probably something that needs to be corrected in the comp plan. But I think as you go forward, you need to be very cautious, because this is how sprawl starts to develop. And one thing that the taxpayers in Putnam County were very vocal about when we did the strategic planning is that they liked the rural nature of the community, and we're very proud of our agrarian nature. And this takes away from that in some part, but I do think in this case it's a good move and it makes sense. And I think it's 1 house per 10 acres is kind of restrictive, but I think the public should have a lot of input and say so in this. So with that said, I would make a motion that we approve this application SM 22-001.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Rawls, proper second by Commissioner Turner to approve this. I am. Is the applicant here? Would you like to make any comments? Okay, I need to open up for public comment. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up for public comment on this particular item. Any individuals wishing to make public comment, please come forward. Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, they're saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, good luck with your project. Okay. Thank you, Zachary. Heather, would you like to make any comments before we move on?
I think that you've all made it pretty clear for a long time, as I've known this community, that you've got some needs to correct some deep land use patterns that need some evaluations. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. It's going to take a minute. I mean, I'm listening to the board and I'm listening to the citizens that I've met, taking a deep dive into the applications and to the cases that we've got, to get a good handle on the best place to sort of pick up where we are, right? To clean up what we got in-house, and to just start serving us today, right now, and for the future. So I don't think it's going to take long to just go at it. And it's going to take a minute, because what I want to do is make sure that everybody's needs are met right here and now first, right? So we've got a lot of applications that need served today. We've got a lot of citizens that need their needs met today. You guys have all come to me with individuals that need phone calls returned, and they're getting their phone calls returned, right? We've got development orders that need issued right now. That's going to get done. And I want to make sure that's done. We want to make sure that the cases we have in the hopper are being turned out. Once we get those turned out, then we're going to take a whack at getting the LDC updated. And a part of the LDC is not just going to be the code rewrite. It's going to be a wholesale evaluation of the zoning code and the maps. And it's going to probably take a overhaul of the comp plan. So we're going to get at her. I'm ready for it, and I know you guys are too. I'm looking forward to doing it with you guys.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioner Adams, Zach?
We haven't had the opportunity to speak yet. But I'd just like to put on record that when we do the LDC, I am hoping to have the least restrictive LDC as possible, giving agriculture circumstances in state law. So I just want to put that out there, that I am not for restricting landowners from uses and things that they want to do on their property. And so I look forward to working with you in that method.
It's your code. You do it the way you want to do it. It's your code. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make it the way you want it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls?
Welcome aboard. I like what I'm hearing. Do you have any experience in comprehensive plans and rewrites?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in my estimation, the last one was a complete disaster. There was no useful data that was provided. I would encourage you to start trying to pull together as much current data as you can, because Putnam County is very fluid. We've had a lot of changes, a lot of people moving in, and we have a lot of proposed development here. So I would encourage you to try to get as much of that and get a handle on that as soon as possible. But I agree that the comp plan does need to be rewritten, and the comp plan and the LDC both, they have to work well together, and the future land use map, and that's been the disconnect. There's literally been a disconnect, and working with developers in the past and hearing their frustrations, several of them have said they just don't have the appetite for waiting around. I remember one guy
walked in the office over there and said, I've got $4 million, I'll write a check in the next 2 days, I need answers. And he couldn't get answers in a week. He went over to Marion County a week later and did a development there, so.
Well, we're going to try to make that not happen anymore.
You know, these guys that have money don't want to look for answers. They want them, they need them when they ask for them. So thank you very much. Welcome aboard.
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I want to first apologize to you for hijacking your meeting and getting on this subject at all. I do want to say one thing, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to or not, but I'm going to. Heather was actually the head lady of the firm that we hired to rewrite our land development code. I'm just saying that it's not, we hired her, then she ended up, thank for goodness for us, leaving that firm, and so now we were able to hire her with Putnam County to rewrite our land development code and save the county a tremendous amount of money and have the experience that we were going to pay a lot of money to get. So thank you for selecting us out of your, I know you had many offers. I appreciate you selecting us, and I think it's going to work out for the county. And I truly don't think that her resume is going to prevent us. Or I just want everybody to know, yes, she has an extensive background in land use and comp plans and what have you. So hopefully we can get some of this straightened out in-house this time by furnishing some additional help or some subs or whatever we may have to do to make it work. But we had $320,000 or something we were going to pay this firm that we now have available to help us get subcontractors or in-house and now write it in-house. I'd be willing to bet the chairman's gavel that we're going to save money on getting this done and be able to have a better handle on how it's going to happen. So I just thought I needed to add that to the conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Commissioner Rawls?
I agree. I did some research on it yesterday. You're not hard to research, but I would preface this by saying, please reach out to the community, get the vibe from the community. There's a lot of pressure that's being put on your department to encourage sprawl in the community. I don't think we need that. You look at Alachua County, you look at Marion County, you look at St. John's and Flagler. Those counties are starting to experience difficulties with services that they have to provide in infrastructure. We, right now, have a huge void in our services that we have to provide. We're not able to fully fund them. And while development is good, development can also be restrictive and hurt us. And right now, some of the development that we're experiencing is people that are moving in from out of county to live here, working out of county, spending their money out of county, so we don't get the benefits of the dollars that would normally come into a community where they have a place to loosen up their wallet and go for entertainment and dining and things like that. So again, I would encourage you to take a look at the hole in the middle of the donut if you never have, because you've been living on the fringe and now you're in the middle. And we're different, and the public here wants to be different. We want to keep our rural nature. Speaking personally, if I want to see a disaster, I just have to drive 25 miles east of here, and it's there. I was talking to my brother-in-law yesterday, and I said, how's traffic in your area? And he's complaining. He was elated about the new Whataburger they're getting right down the street, and they got a Wawa, and they got all these new accoutrements, but you know what comes with that? Traffic, massive amounts of traffic. And he says they're having to really pay attention what we're doing here because we get one.
All right, thank you. And I'll convene the Port Authority meeting, and I'll ask for public comment on Port Authority items. Any individuals wishing to make public comment on Port Authority items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move down to item B, administration report, Georgia Pacific property purchase, and it was addendum 1. So,
Mr. Chairman,
okay, Commissioner Turner?
I believe we've talked this item to death. We approved it. We turned it over to the attorneys. They both went back and forth, and they finally got to an agreement that we could mostly agree on, with except for some very minor items on each side or whatever. I move approval.
Second.
Got a proper motion to move the purchase of the Georgia Pacific property forward by Commissioner Turner. We have a proper second by Commissioner Harvey. We'll start with questions with Commissioner Adamsack.
Yeah, I didn't support this when we had it come before us, and the reasons are the same.
We really just don't have a detailed plan yet what we're going to utilize the property for. We don't have a detailed plan on how we're going to get materials from the actual port over to the property, if that's our use case. I am against taking property out of the taxpayer base and bring it into the county unless we have a really good plan for it. I'm in favor of getting a port manager to start developing some of these plans and to start utilizing the port that we have now, which can be utilized at its current depth for some other projects until we get it dredged. So that's where I'm at on it, and so I'll be a no vote.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay. All right, I'll call for the question. All in favor, just saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Just say something real quick. I assume we're using some kind of quasi-Robert's Rules of Order, but anytime somebody calls a question, there has to actually be a second and approval of the cease of debate. I've been wanting to say it for a long time. I figured might as well. I'm sure glad you did. I just wanted to bring up on your parliamentary procedure, but I know that we don't use actually Robert's Rules of Order, but yeah, the Robert's Rules of Order. One person cannot cease debate. I just,
Okay, as far as a vote, can we do that again? Because I didn't hear it. We'll do a roll call vote. Okay, Ashley, we'll do a roll call vote. Yes.
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 No.
Okay, motion passes 5-1 with Commissioner, 4-1 with Commissioner Adams-Act dissenting. Okay. All right, we'll move forward to administration letter of intent from Sultan Industries. Director Suggs, you want to make a comment?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. As you know, this came for you a couple weeks ago at the last board meeting. There was a request for a letter of intent to purchase, I believe, 60 acres by Stoughton Industries out there at your industrial park. We have since held some individual meetings again with the individual and talked about some of the concerns that the Board of County Commissioners had. I don't think there were any concerns that the representative had any issues with. However, I will tell you that we have not yet received our amended letter of intent, but it is in front of you, Board. You filed this morning, again, as the Port Authority. I see we got Mr. Mark Litton from the Chamber here as well, who's representing the project. So, you know, we had good conversations with them, and so I don't know what the intention of the board is here this morning, but it's back in front of you for the same process that we went through 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had some concerns about this 2 weeks ago, mainly because I'd never had the opportunity to sit down or find out if there was really some intent or if it was just somebody trying to buy a piece of the industrial park for an investment or whatever the case may be. Well, these the individuals that are the end user for this are interested enough to come to town and meet with me. And I think they did some of the other board members too, if not all of them. But the thing that made me the most uncomfortable last time around was we didn't have an agreement in there to whether if they bought the property and then didn't use the property in a 3-year period that they would basically could take the property and just sit on it forever, which is what my biggest concern. They buy the property if everything works. And I was able to find out who it is that this is a food distribution center that's going to be big time. I also understood that 2 weeks ago some of the concerns over it were the traffic. They agreed to run all the traffic out Springside Cutoff to 100 instead of coming down Moody. And besides, gentlemen, we got a business park. It's going to generate some traffic. We got 153 acres after if we end up being able to get these people to buy this 60 acres, we're going to have another 153 acres on top of that we're still got to generate more economic development, which is what this is. That's what the port is. That's what everything about the port is, economic development. That's what their direction is. So I think we need to accept this letter of intent, and I truly hope that they, because it'll be as great a project as Camarco ended up being for Putnam County. I truly believe that. So I'm ready for a motion at whatever point you wanted, if somebody doesn't make one first, to accept this offer, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, move down the line. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're next.
On the concerns that I had, and I met with the individuals too, was the traffic. And there are some constituents along Springside Cutoff going from St. John's Avenue down to 309C in that residential community. But the company assured me that they can use the business park, hit 309C, not affect those residents, or go out St. John's Avenue to 20 if they're going out in that direction. So I think, when I met with them, it was a win-win situation. And I would be ready to support anything that can move our county forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Rawls?
I seem to be missing a copy. Can I get a copy of that letter of intent? Can I get a copy of that? It was part of the packet that was originally received 2 weeks ago, so you also should have it by email, the letter of intent. It's the original letter of intent? Yes. So the original letter of intent had no promises, no guarantees, nothing. It had a date certain that was 150 days after execution. It was non-binding. There was a lot of issues with it, but I too met with them, and maybe I met with a different group, but the group that I met with when I said, and the person from Keehee, I said, have you guys figured out how you're going to get the trucks out of the park onto the roads? He said, we've only looked at the property by drone. I said, have you physically driven out there? He said, no, we've only looked at it by drone. So there is absolutely nothing that should compel this board to accept a very poorly written letter of intent that we saw last time. Nothing has changed. All we're doing, if we sign this, is we're giving them permission to proceed forward. They have to make no guarantees whatsoever, and we have to allow them to do that with no guarantees because we're accepting the letter of intent, and they laid out the conditions in the letter of intent. I think there's nothing for us to vote on. It's not part of our packet. The public wasn't informed, and this is just another backdoor method for us to go around the public, and this is why the public doesn't trust this board. So I would be voting absolutely no against this.
Commissioner Adams, aye.
I don't agree with all of Mr. Rawls' comments, but the majority of them. In the original packet that was shared with the community, it says information forthcoming, so I was actually expecting a new letter of intent, so I apologize, I don't have that either. I'm all for the letter of intent just adding the one thing that Commissioner Turner said, but until I have that in writing, I can't vote on it.
Is that
Okay.
in writing somewhere, or did we not?
No, we
did
don't
we
have
it?
it. No, I don't think we got it amended, so that is, I agree that, the traffic was definitely a concern. It looks like they've taken care of that. It sounds like this company is a solid, growing food distribution company, specialty market, it sounded like. And then have the clause in there that if something viable hadn't been done in 3 years, we're able to purchase this property back, so they just don't sit on it or turn and flip the property. But I was expecting, and maybe it's the direction of the board, to have, if we go to the chamber or where, to have an amended document brought to us with those things in there.
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that we've had conversation, I've had conversation with the representatives that we met with last week. They have a copy of the language that was requested by the Board of County Commissioners, or I'm sorry, the Port Authority. I'm assuming that they were waiting for Stoughton to be able to get back with the attorneys to get the amended document back to us, but they are very much aware of it in writing as to what the condition and the request was for the Port Authority for the sale of this property to be included in the letter of intent.
Okay.
So I guess without that, I can't move forward.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls?
One more thing. This says Stoughton Group, Stoughton International. Stoughton was not in the room when I met. If y'all met with Stoughton, I was not given that opportunity. I met with someone from Colliers International representing the buyer. I met with somebody from Keehee. I asked them if they were decision makers or they had any kind of signatory authority, and they both said no. They could not bind anything. There was no one in the room from Stoughton or Stoughton, however you want to pronounce it. And I don't know who y'all talked to. I can only tell you that I never got an opportunity, and that's who it says the letter of intent would come from. So you're looking for a promise from one group that another group may not have to fulfill. And I think we got problems with this, but a couple of weeks from now, I won't be here. You guys will have to deal with this. But I would encourage you to start looking at things with your eyes wide open. I've been sitting here for 4 years screaming, going all the way back to the Camargo contract. I didn't have a problem with Camargo. My problem was
the way the contract was presented, it had all the seller's representation, no guarantees from the buyer. Had I not brought that up, it would have passed that morning. There would have been no guarantee that Camargo had to do anything. You know, all I'm saying is we represent the public's best interest. Let's do what's best for the public. I promise you, I would think, and I think I know you gentlemen well enough to say that none of y'all would enter into this kind of an agreement with putting your personal assets or your family assets at risk. And I think you should take a look at this from that perspective. That's all I'm saying. So I'll shut up.
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval with the added language that they have to put $3 million within 3 years into this property, or we get the option to buy it back.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Turner with that added language in it. Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, I've got a second by Commissioner Harvey.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
discuss? I too have reservations about signing off on a deal without seeing the complete letter, and I did not meet with them. So I have big reservations, and I wanted to bring that up in discussion. I don't know if just our language would be enough to make that work, and so I have real concerns.
Mr. Turner?
Rich, with us adding that to the motion, that would add to the letter of intent, correct? Jeff, I'm not interested in your opinion, or I'd ask for it. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I ain't gonna go to the deal that if your buddy didn't want the land, then everything would be just fine. Rich, would our language, by making a motion that had to be added in the letter of intent?
So it's conditional language on essentially a counter. What needs to happen is they would need to approve it. Obviously, it would have to be in writing. So they need to either amend their letter or accept our proposal in writing.
I know that everybody seems to be missing the part of this, that if this particular buyer owns this property, he's got to have this property move-in ready by the middle of '24. Is that the date they gave us? So if you want to run another business out of town like we're famous for doing, then go ahead and keep kicking the can down the road, and they'll just go back to St. John's and find another one because they look for one over there and they turn this down, or they'll go to another county or do something else. This is a world-class employer or a world-class operation we're trying to get to come to Putnam County. So we got to take a little risk here and there. These aren't giant risks, especially if you put in there that number one, they've got to go through with the letter of intent after all their due diligence. Then they've got to make sure that the city allows them to do everything they want to do because this business park's in the city. We're not going to have any control over that part of it. And then on top of that, they've got to build and be ready to go when their lease is up in the middle of '24. So, you know, sometimes you just got to do what your job is. And when I'm doing something with my personal money, I'm not trying to promote economical development for all the citizens of Putnam County, which is what the direction of the Development Authority is. So sometimes I just get a little upset, Mr. Chairman, but that's fine. I thought this was just a slam dunk, but I guess I was wrong.
Okay. Commissioner Adamczak?
So, Rich, if we went forward with this, would that still have to come back in front of us again? As the letter of intent, once it's written properly and that, or do we just, how do we see it? I mean, because I like to see the way things are worded personally, and I trust you, Rich, but I like to see it.
Well, I mean, the question is, does it have to? No, it doesn't have to. If you vote to authorize a conditional approval, and those conditions are met, then it wouldn't have to come back to you. If you want to see the letter, if you want to see it in black and white before you take the vote.
It shouldn't take that long to get a letter back from somebody, I wouldn't think, especially if we're only making the one change. So I don't understand why this couldn't wait till November 8th, I guess, or I don't know. But that's where I'm at. I absolutely want to get this property out of the county's hands. That's my goal with every piece of property we own, just about, except for a few. And but I want to see it in writing. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rich, what I heard you say is basically this is a counter offer if they accept it based on the first letter of intent, this is something that we change, then we can move forward. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm fine with it as long as those conditions are included in that intent. I don't have a problem with that. And then it's up to them now to accept our counter proposal. It's not throwing the original intent out, we're just altering that first intent. And I'm fine with that as long as they'll meet that requirement. Thank you.
Commissioner Rawls?
Once upon a time, there was a company that went to the county and got property out of the business park, set up a venture, bankrupted it, kept property out there, been sitting vacant in their name for a very long time. This is no different than that. We could be going down a very slippery slope. We're going to put conditions. One condition is that the contract should be binding the date from date of execution. It's a $50,000 deposit on a $2.5 million deal. I think the property value is way too low. I don't think we should be paying $120,000 in the buyer's realtor fee. I think if the buyer wants to bring a broker to the table, let the buyer pay the broker fee. Don't stick it to the citizens because they want to put 120 grand in somebody's coffers. I think the asking price or the selling price is way too low. We've not discussed that. I think this is just a big mess, but if we're going to throw conditions, I would like to see a condition added that we look at that we do a market study on the property and get real market value for the property, that we do have some sort of guarantee that they improve the property. $3 million in 3 years, I'm fine with that. That the agreement is binding upon execution by both sides, and that the $50,000 goes hard after 90 days. That gives them plenty of time to do some due diligence. They can back out at 90 days. If they want to go the additional 60 days or 50,000 at risk, I think that would make it a better deal. But I think those conditions absolutely need to be in there.
Okay, we actually have a motion and a second on the floor with that one condition in there. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, we've got a 4-1 with Commissioner Rawls dissenting. Okay, any other further business for the Port Authority? Okay, I'll adjourn the Port Authority and reconvene the County Commission meeting. And I'll move down to public comment on agenda items. Any individuals wishing to make public comment on agenda items? Tim, you know the drill. Just state your name and address for the record.
Tim Hoteling, 105 Riverside Way, San Mateo. And it's not so much a comment as a question, if I might. I'm having flashbacks of the Comarco process you all went through, where a member of the Chamber of Commerce prepared all the legal documents without having training and experience. And I mean, they had a lot of training experience, but not in real estate. I was just curious, who's crafting this letter, and do they have experience in real estate?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tim.
Could you be kind enough to tell me who's crafting those letters that you just spoke of, and if they have experience?
The Chamber has drafted letters and working with our legal department.
Do they have any experience in negotiation of that kind of real estate?
That letter,
I mean, that appeared to be the question.
This isn't on.
But, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right, Commissioner Rawls?
To answer your question, Tim, the answer to your question is the letter was offered by the Stoughton Industrial Group. It was a letter from them with an intent to make an offer to purchase the property. They stipulated the dollar amount. They also said that it was a non-binding agreement from the very first sentence. I personally think that it's flawed, but the Chamber told me they had nothing to do with that. They were approached by them. The company that Kihi is in a hurry to get out of where they are now. They're trying to relocate. They want to expand. I've done some research on them. They're moving into more automated processes. So all the jobs they talk about may not actually manifest themselves. But
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other public comment? We'll close the public comment portion. We'll move down to the consent agenda item. And we do have an addendum sanitation added, renewal of the liquid environment solutions for transportation and treatment of hauling of leachate. That will be added also. Commissioners, any items you're wishing to pull? I'll start with Commissioner Adamsack.
Hold on. There was something there. The item E. And I just have some questions on it.
Okay, Commissioner Turner,
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Rawls,
Item G, I just have a question.
G, so that would be the leachate?
With the new leachate.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
I have none.
Okay, and I'm glad that he pulled G, so other than that, I have none. So,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve items A, B, C, D, F on the consent agenda.
okay, we've got a proper motion, a proper second. All in favor, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll move down to E. Commissioner Adamsack?
So my only question on E is, were we able to hire the 3 individuals to run the crews? And is this in case if they're not available, or is this in separate activities? I'm just trying to understand what this crew, why do we need this if we have our in-house people that are supposed to be filling that role now?
Mr.
Or
Chairman,
is it something completely different?
Mr. Chairman, I can answer that. This is not an additional crew. This is the current contracts that Putnam County has with the Department of Corrections, those former, where if that changes with the Department of Additional Work crews, if they move those services back in-house.
Okay, so as long as we
There's
have
no
our
cost
people,
associated
we
with
actually
it.
don't pay anything. Okay, that's what I was trying to
Yeah,
clarify.
there's no cost associated with it, with monitoring this contract.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just holding our place in case they go back to the old system.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item E.
Second.
Okay, a proper motion to approve item E and a proper second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, item G. Commissioner Rawls?
On the, when we block that street off, is it, so people, if it's just a few ballers,
That's F. The street's
Yep.
F.
It's G.
G is the sanitation leachate. Did I?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so my agenda's wrong. I'm sorry.
No, this is updated.
My apologies.
Yeah, F became something else.
F then was approved.
if we put the Jersey barriers up there, would there be any way to watch that for a while with cameras, or put something in place so people don't just back up and throw it over the barrier and make it more difficult for us to clean up?
We've been working with the sheriff's office with this, so I mean, we could throw that out there to them and see if we can put some of our cameras where we look, that we put up for like illegal dump sites and stuff like that, where we try to catch
Yeah.
people. We have 2 of those that our ag deputy has that she could definitely put up there and see if we can catch anybody that's doing that for sure. Yes, sir.
It just seems like it has become such a common dumping place that it would be worth catching the folks and at least admonishing them and tell them no more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I make a motion we approve item G.
Second.
Okay, got a proper motion, a proper second. All in favor, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, I guess I missed this, so the addended item on the sanitation, what letter did that go to?
F.
That went to F, so I just asked you a question since we've already approved this, but this was a deal that we have to do, and it was the best deal you could get at this particular time on the hauling of the leachate.
Hold on, leachate, yes, sir. So, their contract, essentially what happened is their contract was up, and we had the opportunity for two-year renewals. However, their prices, went up, labors went up 31%, fuels went up 52%. So they came back to us, and what we had to do is, with an amount for us to renew, they came back to us with an amount that was above the CPI index that they could use. So that's the reason we had to go this route. When they did that, we actually reached out to some of their competitors who we got bids from, and the message we got back was, if you're anywhere under 15 to 17 cent, you need to jump, because there's some real headwinds coming our way. So that's the reason for doing this at this time.
Okay, all right.
I have a question about that.
Okay, yep, Commissioner Rawls?
So, CPI is 8.1, somewhere in there. These guys are about 11%. Sounds like a gift anyways. What about the overall cost for us to start looking at moving it into self-sufficiency?
That's already started.
Okay.
Commissioner Turner?
That's actually what my remarks were gonna be, that, gentlemen, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg here. We were very fortunate to get 11 cents this time around, very fortunate. Because I think it's gonna be, within a year or two, it's gonna be upwards of maybe even as high as a quarter. That don't sound like much, but a quarter just to get rid of leachate. So Jay and I have been talking about how do we get to that next step, and how do we, and we've looked at several different options on how to get our leachate run through our own plant. But we're gonna have to figure out how to treat it to the point to where it won't blow up the chemical consistency that they can deal with over at East Palaca at our own plant. So he has started looking at that, even as far, I think you've already reached out to your consultant and mentioned it to him, and they're gonna line up some tests to try to get some tests at our current plant, because they got to know what it is before we can figure out how we can get our stuff to that level. So, yes, I think that it's very important that we say that we need to try to get our leachate to sustainability within our own system, even if it's within our own system in the county. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rawls?
I think you should also take a look at the possibility of doing it on site, bringing in a wastewater treatment. That part of the county is poised for a lot of growth. It seems like it'd be a perfect place for it. You do have Mr. Yoho and his group coming in, the possibility of reducing the amount of garbage, but it's still going to rain, and you're still going to be dealing with the leaching effect. So I would encourage you to take a look at the possibility of putting a system on site, and maybe be able to capitalize on that by allowing other people to bring in. We've been talking about biosolids. This could be a solution for that as well. And if we're looking at spending $1 million a year or more, maybe spending less than that on debt service over.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Turner?
That is correct, but and if we could get there, that would definitely be great. But I think what we're going to find is it's going to be the same situation that the people that we sell our leach, or that take our leachate now, that we pay to take our leachate, they actually do some refining of the leachate on premises, but it costs so much money to get it to the level to where you can put it back in the environment. It needs to go through a full-blown sewer plant. So I'd love to be able to just do what you said, but I think it's going to be cost inefficient, because the sewer plant in East Palaca was 15 million, something like that. Yeah, right, but that's what I'm saying, though. I don't know that we can get there or not, but it could, we might could. So that's definitely a way to look too, but I'd love to try to get it to where we could carry it at least to East Palaca and deal with it ourselves and pay them a nickel instead of 25 cents or whatever it's going to be, because it's going to be that not too distant in the future. And so it's time for us to go exactly where you're saying, and we've already started that process. But how far we can afford to refine it to keep from sending it to our own plant in East Palaca, especially when we have plenty capacity at this time, then it would be, but I'll be the first to admit it'd be best if we could do it on site, keep from having to haul it to East Palaca. So I'm good. I understand completely.
The sewer plant in that part of Putnam
Yes,
County.
I understand that. Yes, sir, I do, but I just don't know that we can spend $12 million on a plant that'll get us there and make it. I understand, but it's still a big nut to crack. So anyhow, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
You
Any other
started
comment?
this one, by the way.
Exactly, I did. I'm glad we had it. Very informative. Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any more comments on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll move down to codes enforcement, item 8. Fine reduction code case.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, on item G.
Yeah, we did. I thought that he was pulling the one on the leach aid. To be honest with you, I didn't have my letters.
We did not vote on it.
Correct.
Make a motion that we approve item G.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, got a proper motion and a proper second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I think he already had made a motion earlier, Mr. Rawls had.
Yeah, I thought he had.
But that's fine. We voted on at least one.
All right, we're straight now? Okay, moving forward. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Item 2014-00843.
Yes, sir. The address is 310 Elm Avenue. The property owner's name is 5T Wealth Partners. The violation was unsafe structure and care premises. The original fine amount was $29,443.81. Total cost for enforcement action was $2,331. Property owner is now compliant and is requesting a fine reduction. If the board approves, we recommend the reduced fine to be paid within 90 days.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval with $2,331 is paid within 90 days.
Second.
Got proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Harvey to approve the fine reduction. Is the applicant here? Okay, not. I don't have to do public comment on this, so anyway, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Okay, we'll move down to item 9, Clerk of Court, Honorable Matt Reynolds.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you. I'd like to take just a moment to update the Commission and the public on a joint press conference I was able to attend yesterday with 5 other clerk of courts and comptrollers here throughout the region. Clerk Brandon Patty over in St. Johns County actually was approached by multiple different constituents early in his term about a year ago about property fraud alert notifications. They had heard the radio that I had started putting out, the ad on the radio that I had started putting out about our property fraud alert notification system, and a lot of constituents were coming to him about it, so of course he wanted to stand one up. But we decided to take a more regional approach to it, and we hope that we'll be able to expand that to be statewide, because we are really seeing a lot of cases of property fraud occurring, especially right now. I just got a call several weeks ago from a local realtor who saw a property go up for sale on tax deed sale. He knew the previous owners of the property, and he knew that the husband had passed away. The wife was in a nursing home, and the children were taking care of the property, and he wondered why it was up for tax deed sale. He looked into it further, looked at the owner of record, and it was not who he thought the owner of record was. It was an LLC out of basically out of a P.O. box from somewhere. So he started researching it a little further, found a deed where the property had been deeded from the original couple to this other entity, and since then it's been deeded further. But when he went to the original owners and the children of the owners, they said, no, we don't know what you're talking about. So they're of course working through that now, and that's just one recent occurrence that I know we've had in Putnam County. I was talking with Mr. Commando this morning. He had one very close to home happen with him. So it's a rapidly growing crime. I think the FBI has said it's the fastest growing white collar crime in America. So here in Putnam, we do have the ability for anybody, all of you, staff, all residents, if you, and you really don't even have to own property in Putnam County. It's really just a service. You go and you register your email address and your phone number, and it will notify you if anything is filed in your name, whether it's a lien, a deed, or even if the names are close to yours, you'll get a notification, an email notification and a text notification that lets you know that something's been filed so that you can go and look it up. So I would highly recommend everyone to go and do that, to protect your property. It's a completely free service, doesn't cost you anything, only takes a couple of seconds, just needs names or aliases, phone number, and email address. And The regional website that we've stood up, you can get to it, protectyourfloridaproperty.com or clerksagainstfraud.com. That should take you to the regional website. Right now, it's just 6 counties, Duval, Nassau, St. Johns, Clay, Putnam, those areas, but we really want to branch out statewide here soon because it's becoming such a prolific crime. So thank you guys for giving me a minute to talk about that. And again, I hope that that everybody in the public that hears that takes advantage of it. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Commissioner Rawls?
Do we have to go in person, or I'm looking at the website? Do we do it on the website?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You should just be able to click on that link, and like I said, names or aliases, you should be able to enter a couple of different aliases, and then just a phone number and an email.
You don't have to submit
That's
to
it.
your property?
No, sir.
Okay.
Nope. Yeah, it just monitors for names, because the way that official records can be, there can be an official record not tied to a piece of property, just tied to you as a person. So it just goes based upon names.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Harvey?
Mr. Clerk, years ago, I signed up for that. Do we need to continue to sign up every year?
No, sir.
Does it send you a notification that nothing's happened, or?
It will not, that's a good question, though.
Yeah.
I will contact the people that we've been working with on that, and maybe once a year just to send a refresher email to let everybody know that, hey, you're still registered, and there hasn't been any notification. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Matt. Okay, we'll move down to appointments. Commissioners, any appointments today? I'll start with Commissioner Rawls.
Yeah, Laura, did Ms. Hockenberry get her paperwork in? Ms. Hockenberry, Heidi Hockenberry? Okay. I'd like to appoint her to the library board. English too.
Okay, library board, okay, that's a district appointment. Okay, any more?
That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be appointing Rebecca Sharp to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. She's got her paperwork in hand and be bringing it to me within the next day or two.
All right, it's a district appointment. Okay, Commissioner Turner?
I have none to those.
Commissioner Adamsack? Okay, and I have none, but I truly appreciate each commissioner reaching out to citizens to fill these citizen boards, especially the AHAC board. I'm the chairman of that. The state legislature mandated that a commissioner sit on that board, so I was asked to do that, and we got quorums early on, but we struggled to have quorums. We had a quorum last meeting, and we got some individuals orientated, and so we were able to discuss a lot of stuff, and we have a special called meeting next month to finish up the discussions on the LHAP and the AHAC reports. So I appreciate everybody's diligence appointing members to these boards. We'll move down to public comment on miscellaneous items. Any individuals wishing to make public comment on miscellaneous items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move down to closing comments. County Administrator Terry Suggs.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, just a couple this morning. Sat in, Ms. Young and I did with, on a Zoom call earlier this week with, or last week with FDOT, talking about their future projects as well as Stop and Scrap. And they've asked us to make the announcement here this morning that on December 1st, they'll be holding a public meeting in their Jacksonville office. It will also be online, so if you want to just log in, you can watch it live. You can go to their website and key in there. And it's from 4:30 to 6 p.m. on December 1st. So I want to make sure we got that announcement out for DOT. Also, just a reminder, as you know, I'll be out for the next few days. And so if you need anything, please just email or text or call, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, but I'll be out for the next few days.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Administrator Suggs. County Attorney Rich Commando. Okay. Thank you, Rich. Before I move to Commissioner comments, I'd like to say that we do not have a transportation meeting this afternoon at 2. We didn't have any items to move forward, so there'll be no 2 o'clock transportation meeting. And our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Tuesday, November 8th.
And we're modifying that schedule a little bit for me, because I'm on the canvassing board, and I have a meeting at 1:30 today. And then also at 1:30 and 6 p.m. that Tuesday, which is Election Day. So we will immediately we'll just take a break after our November 8th BOCC meeting, and then we'll go directly into our workshop. So we'll take about a 15, 20, 30-minute break and then move in that. So it will not be a scheduled 2 o'clock meeting on November 8th. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. So Commissioner comments, I'll start with Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for calling on me. Good news, the Interlochen High School Rams made an undefeated season in their football team this year. And and they start district playoffs this coming Friday night. Chicken dinners will be served from the concession stand if you want to come out and get a chicken half dinner. And all Rotary handles that. Our Rotary Club actually gives a third back to the football team, a third to the band, and we keep a third for scholarship programs. So we've done a really good job this year, and we're excited about the Interlochen High School Rams, who had an undefeated season. Hasn't happened since the 1980s. So this has been very good for the young men that play on those teams. Little sad news, the Rotary Dental trailer that a lot of our Rotarians got together and helped. They had a theft the other night of the generator. Somebody went over there and cut all the bolts off the generator and stole it. So they're going to be looking for some community help to get that back and running. That thing has been a godsend. It's been already to different schools, and so if somebody in the community has an extra generator, they could sure use one right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harvey. And it is a great city. I'll say it probably hadn't happened, like you said, in a long time, since the 80s. So good luck for the rest of the season. Commissioner Rawls?
My family and I have been going through a lot of personal, not struggles, just really hard time with the passing of a couple of parents. And it's so nice to be able to live in a small community where people are able to reach out and help you. It's been so humbling with everybody that's given us their condolences. The service we had for my mom, it was very well attended, but also we had a celebration of life the following day, and we'll be doing the same thing this weekend for my father-in-law. But just ask that you pray for our families and all our family members and friends that are dealing with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Okay, Commissioner Adams-Ack?
Yeah, I just want to talk about it. It's fall time. It's coming up winter. There's a lot of activities every weekend in Putnam County, on the fringes of Putnam County. Obviously, with Halloween coming, there's a lot of trunk or treats, Boo on the Avenue, all the different things that are happening. So just get out there and enjoy our county, enjoy this weather. This is a great place to live. I don't care what some naysayers say. This is a great place to live. I love it. That's why I'm here. That's why I think we're all here. That's why we all choose to serve here in this capacity. And the one other thing I want to say is just everyone, regardless of who you support in elections, get out and vote. I mean, that's what decides who's here, who's in every level of government. There's some constitutional amendments out there. There's a school board thing. Get out there and be heard and make your vote count. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams-Ack. Commissioner Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several things this morning. One thing, there's a lot going on out at our landfill, and most everybody knows it, but I mean, we're trying to get a tire shredder hooked up to be self-staying on tires. We're working on this leachate, and we're trying to get ahead of the curve on a lot of these issues that are coming along for sure. But there's another issue that we need to discuss here this morning. When sanitation was going to go and pick it up with our grapple truck, well, they wrecked the grapple truck. So now and it's only in certain areas, and it's not a lot of it. But we don't have any way to pick it up now, and it's going to be probably 3 weeks for parts, and then however long it takes to fix truck after we get the parts in, what we found out. So we reached out to our sanitation subcontractor, and they pretty much just blew us off because they can't send crews in here for $9.45 a ton when there's you know, not enough to make it worth their while. I would like permission from the board to reach out to some of the local people who can pick up this tree trash and give us a rate of either so much a ton, so much a yard, so much of whatever, and go into these areas. I believe that if we reached out to, there's at least 2 of them we know of, right, Jay? Okay, a day rate to go out and pick up for a day and then bring the stuff to the landfill. If we don't, we're gonna be a month, or just start another month. So originally, I was all for the grapple, all for doing it ourselves, all for that, but not gonna work out that way, I'm just telling you. So I would like to try to do a day rate, and then maybe within the next week, Jay could line something up and get the best way with cheapest way that we can to get this stuff picked up off the side of the road before somebody runs into it with a car and hurts themselves. So,
Mr. Chairman, are you looking for a wave of support here?
yes, or something. Yeah, okay, so we got a waive. Is that good enough for you, Terry? Well, we just got a wave of support from the board. So do you want a motion that we can move forward, or what do you need to make you happy?
We're gonna, a wave of support's fine. We're gonna run it through procurement and do what we need to do to follow the process and bring it back.
We have that, so we
Thank
can
you.
go ahead and try to get that done. The other thing is that I mentioned a few meetings ago, and I wanted to come back to workshop sometime in December or January. I remembered what it was. The recycle. I want to talk to the board about, do we have to continue curbside recycle, or can we find another way to do it and save $30 to $40 per household for everybody in this county, because only 17% of people recycle. So I want to discuss that again. Can we still have recycling, but maybe tweak the system and put some of them little happy things that, the volunteer, or the different fire departments around, where somebody can drop it by there if they want to, so they could still do recycling, but it'll say, that's why you can't give the 45 back. I believe it's 45 is what we charge for recycling, because it's gonna cost about 15 to go in and do all these little, and then pick it all up and haul it around and what have you, and deal with it. So I would like to bring that back to the board. We've got to give them notice 90 days in advance, I believe it is, from next October. So I'd like to start discussing this if we could. And the other thing is the last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is a little very quick. That's fixing to happen, and we've got the sewer expansion that's fixing to happen. One's from ARPA, the other one's from a grant from DEO, I believe it is, and so I'm looking where you like say like that if I'm wrong, but I think it's DEO. So anyhow, we've got those going, but we've set aside $300,000 is what we did to help citizens hook up to our system for water, is what we set it up for. I think that would not at this present time, but I think we need to start thinking about a way to expand that to where sewer and water, we already, and I'm going to talk about it again in a minute, but we already talked about waiving the connection fee for sewer. And so, residential, yes, sir, on residential. And so, but I guess we've got to talk about it again, because our version didn't seem to coincide with Public Works' version of what we did. They were putting it in there that we waive fees, we waive connection fees except for this amount, where they could go look at it or something. It was like $1,500, so they pulled it off the agenda or something, and I said, no. I mean, that isn't what we passed, in my opinion. My opinion was we waive connection fees and they hire a plumber and hook up. Right. So it doesn't cost us anything. Right. They own their own pumps, they own everything, they got to maintain them, they got to do it all. You know, another thing in that same workshop where we talk about these sorts of things when we do get to it, I also want to talk about how do we get the pumps that we hooked up through grants to where we don't own them anymore. Yeah, I know, you're exactly right. But we hooked them up originally because we had the grant money. But it seems to me like there could be a way that says, okay, we hooked them up, we threw a grant, but from now on, they belong to you. So, you know, that's just the way it is. So we don't maintain the pumps. We maintain our backbone system is what we maintain, and then they maintain, that's the way it is in most sewer neighborhoods around the country. That's just the way it is. The backbone is by the utility, and then everything else is by the explicitly plain as I could, that we furnish the backbone and we furnish the tap, but from there on, they hire their own plumber, buy their own pump, do their own stuff, do everything, and they hook it up. And then they own it, and they maintain it, and that's the way we need to get the ones we have now over a period of time or something. So we need to have a discussion on that at some point. I think that's everything that I had today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Commissioner Rawls?
I think the problem you run into is we've had so much discussion in the past about us owning the pumps and having to service them in perpetuity that we would be in breach of contract. I don't know that there would ever be a time that we could send them a Merry Christmas. By the way, your Christmas gift this year for the county is that pump that's in the ground, and good luck in the future.
I don't know that we can, to be honest with you, but I'd sure like to see if we could. To be out of the pump maintenance business.
I've said that dozens and dozens of times, but I don't know that we're able on the ones that we're hooked up to now. Obviously, in the future, it would be a requirement. And in any future development, we'd have to put in a lift station and hopefully do everything in gravity. I would hope that the county would start shifting its mindset away from force main and start looking at gravity. It's a lot cheaper in the future to operate and easier on the staff, but that's a future conversation from the board. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Adams?
I look forward to all those conversations, and I think the sooner the better, actually, so I don't know that we have to wait till December. But as far as the individual lift stations, if we could do that, I would love it. But maybe a way to look at it is maybe upon first replacement, maybe after that next replacement, that's part of the replacement, maybe that's an idea. That since we do have some, I think, in storage, I guess we keep 10 per how many, 100 or something. Yeah, I'm all for getting us out of that part of the business.
Part of the problem, Commissioner, is that when the government buys pumps, they buy the damn Cadillac pump in the country. The best one they can find, doesn't matter if it costs triple, because there might be a little less maintenance and a little more to it. But that gives somebody the option to go buy a pump for a third of the money that they can buy for that would be fine for a residential operation, and then they can maintain it from now on. And we don't care if they buy a Chevy or Ford pump, we don't care, because they're maintaining it and they own it. They can buy whatever one their plumbing company works on, instead of the way it is now. If they have one in the ground right now and they own it, or we own it, and we turn it over to them, they're going to have to find a plumbing company that'll actually come work on the brand we use. It's not as simple as you think. So there are going to be a lot of things that has to be worked out, but Putnam County needs to get out of the pump maintenance business if we can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Turner. In my closing comments, like I said, we just don't have a meeting this afternoon at 2 o'clock. I would like to recognize the Crescent City Rotary Club. We had scheduled the 29th annual Swine and Wine event for October 1st, and hurricane came through Putnam County, so we had to reschedule that to last weekend. And I want to thank Crescent City Rotary Club, all the Rotary Clubs in Putnam County, Interlochen and the Palaca Sunrise and Palaca Noon Club, along with the Crescent City Rotary Club, had a great event Saturday night, very well attended. We should raise quite a bit of money for youth sports and our education program. I want to thank John William Rebels and Crescent Lake Farms for allowing us to have that event there, and especially to my immediate left, Commissioner Larry Harvey, along with Buddy Goddard and his team, cooked all the food for us, and it was fabulous. So again, Larry, I thank you. Without y'all's efforts, and it's a good trade-off. We work with the other clubs in the Crescent City
club goes to the Wild Game Feast and fries all their products during their fundraiser. So it's a good trade-off, and the Rotary Club's working together. So I just wanted to recognize all the clubs in Putnam County. Commissioner Rawls?
Don't forget to mention the rodeo. That was, no, I was hoping that when y'all would,
Yeah, I was unable to attend, but I know that Commissioner Adams, Zach Turner, maybe y'all did.
we went Tuesday or Saturday night. It was extremely well attended.
Yeah, it sounded like it was well attended, and it's just, I think it's great to, you know, continue to use that facility and expand it into things like this. It's just a great facility. We're blessed to have it. And also commend the Fair Board for reaching out to and putting different events together to be held there. So I did ask Commissioner Turner, because he used to rodeo, and I asked him if after watching that, if he felt the urge to maybe try it again, and it was a definite no. So he's out of the rodeo business. So anyway, thank you for mentioning that. Okay, any other further business before this board? Okay, we stand adjourned.
Mike, we'll